What's up everyone, welcome to my video. Today we're going to be talking about how to maximize your DPS on your Unholy Death Knight. And today I was able to test it out for the first time in a while because I've mostly been playing Frost in my DK, at least in PvE. And I was actually pretty surprised at how much damage I was actually doing on my Holy Death Knight now because, as you guys know, a couple of weeks ago we actually got some really nice damage buffs. So I'm really excited about that. And so let's take a look at the build. So this is your standard build that people are running right now as Unholy. Just bursting swords, pestilent pistols, clown shadows, sludge belcher. This row is basically just depends on the fight. And then of course here you can go with shadow infusion or infected claws, but I like to go with infected claws because you can never have enough festering wounds on your target. And then of course Soul Reaper. As far as stats go, your primary stat is going to be mastery. You want to stack it as high as possible, and then haste you want to be at least 20 or 21%. If you're a little bit above that, that's perfectly fine. And then crit doesn't really matter for this build, you know, as much. So as far as enchants go, I'm using the Mark of the Trained Soldier enchant. I'm using the Mastery enchants for my rings. And as far as legendaries go, unfortunately, I'm using Frost legendaries because I was never really lucky on my Holy Death Knight, guys. It feels really bad. I never got the really good legendaries on my Holy Death Knight, like the like the wrist and the belt or the necklace. So that's unfortunate, but we actually still did pretty good damage as Unholy in my test today. Alright guys, so now let's talk about how to increase your DPS on your Death Knight. And there is no super secret answer to increasing your DPS. Basically, there are things that you can control. For example, like leveling up your artifact weapon, making sure that you're using DPS relics in your relic slots. For example, in my relic slots, I'm doing my best to make sure I'm using high item level relics and also relics that increase, my damage. For example, like Festering Strike, or Death Coil. I make sure to avoid relics that don't increase my DPS. For example, relics that maybe increase your survivability or things like that. So basically, there are other things that you can do as well, like making sure that your gear is optimized so that you are using the correct stats for your spec. For example, I'm making sure that all my gear has some kind of mastery on it, and making sure that my mastery is pretty high. Also, things that are kind of out of your control are things like, legendaries. Like, did you get lucky? Maybe you got really awesome legendaries, like, for example, for Unholy, the wrist or the waist, or did you get crappy legendaries, like, the ring, or maybe like, the feet don't actually do anything. They're basically, just utility relics, right? Or stat sticks, pretty much. Also, there are things like, your trinkets, which actually impact your DPS a lot. Are you using, you know, crappy trinkets, like for example me, or did you get really lucky, and get some really overpowered trinkets from Nighthold? So, there are a lot of things, guys, a lot of things that you can do to increase your DPS. Another thing that I know it's pretty basic, guys. I know, but there are things like, your flask. Are you using mastery food as Unholy? Are you pre-potting before the boss pull and after the boss pull? Basically, all of that together determines how much overall damage you're going to be doing. Not to mention other things like, is your rotation tight? Also, the boss fight itself, is it melee friendly, or is it more geared towards range? So, basically, at the end of the day, guys, it's going to be a lot of things, things that you can control and things you can't control. All right, guys. So let's see how much damage we can do with Unholy now. So for this test, I'm of course flasked up. I'm using my mastery food. I don't have the Defile Augment rune, the one that gives you a strength buff, the one that drops from LFR, unfortunately. But I don't think it would basically make too much of a difference. But here I'm just going through my standard rotation, popping Army of the Dead, making sure that my target has 6 festering wounds, you know, pre-potting, basically all the good stuff, guys. I mean, you guys that have been playing Unholy for a while pretty much know the rotation. So as you can see, guys, the damage or the DPS for Unholy right now actually feels pretty damn good. You know, the buffs that it received a couple of weeks ago, I think actually finally put it on par with Frost, in my opinion. I think I'll have to do a test later on my Frost DK, but from what I see so far, it's pretty much right up there with my Frost DK. And that's that. Like I said earlier, I don't have the legendaries to make Unholy work, to maximize or to do the max amount of damage that I possibly can. I'm actually just using the legendaries from my Frost spec. So basically these are just stat sticks, or just using them as stats. But for those guys, or for you all that have the really good legendaries, you're probably going to end up doing more damage than I am doing in this test, because right now we pretty much peaked at about 644,000 DPS, which is actually not too bad. I think that's actually pretty good. But you all that have the right legendaries are probably going to do a lot more DPS than I'm doing in this test. So I don't know, guys. Overall, it feels really, really good. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. And of course I'm going to be bringing you some more Death Knight content in the near future. Now I'm also playing a couple of different classes right now. I'm playing a Demon Hunter, and I'm also playing a Survival Hunter. So if you guys would like to see some, you know, Demon Hunter, Survival Hunter gameplay, you know, let me know in the comments below. But until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.